Welcome back to another Intermission Stories episode. And this one is especially meaningful to me because not only do we get to hear her midlife intermission story, but she is also part of the very first cohort of women that went through my signature program, Intermission. And so the fact that we get to hear from her heart on what it was like to be a part of the cohort and also just how midlife has been a gift to her. I am so thrilled to welcome my friend Staci Anderson. Welcome,
Thank you
Staci.
so much for having me, Jennifer.
Yeah. Hey friends, and welcome to the Living Well Enneagram Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Stanley, and around here we talk about the Enneagram, real life, and what it means to grow and live well. Stick around to be inspired by real people, real stories, and real-life application of Enneagram wisdom. How did you know that it was time for a midlife intermission, as we have come to call it?
That's a great question. And honestly, Jennifer, I'm not sure in the moment that I truly knew that I was ready. But I think once I got to the retreat, I took a breath and I didn't realize that I was kind of emotionally and spiritually holding my breath. And when we got to the retreat, it just gave me this wonderful space to breathe and to be with these other women where we could share together.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, what made you say yes to it? If you weren't sensing this deep, like, there's a crisis or there's like a major transition that I'm noticing in my life, what made you say yes?
So yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily crisis, but definitely, definitely in a transition period of my life. My husband and I decided that I would be a stay-at-home mom, and don't regret 1 minute of that. But once that phase was finished, I just was like, who am I now? What am I doing? Where am I going? Who am I? And who am I as a Christian wife and mother? Who am I as a person? And so I think that was probably part of what set me up to be ready to be in that place at that time.
I mean, what you're saying is something that I hear from women over and over and over, this idea of like, okay, my roles have shifted and I've loved everything about Act 1 of life. I've loved it, but my roles are shifting now. So who am I? Like now that I'm not just primary mom or primary, like if somebody's been through a divorce or they've become a widow, like, and that chapter is closed, or maybe their career has shifted. Like it's this point when the identity that we used to have doesn't fit quite as well anymore. And it causes us all to say, like, who am I now?
Right.
And then the second question I hear a lot from people is, and what is my purpose? And like, why?
Right.
Because now you're not a stay-at-home mom and your kids, you've done the thing where they've grown and flown. And so here you are going, okay, so now what happens next?
Yeah. It was hard because I felt like I didn't have a real solid vocation to maybe kind of identify myself with, being a stay-at-home mom. And, I am a trained caterer, but that wasn't necessarily a avenue that I wanted to work full time in. The catering gave me an avenue and a platform with which to use my purpose that came out as a result of being at the retreat and our one-on-one Zoom calls together.
Awesome. That's so good. Okay. So I guess let's talk a little bit about the intermission retreat, because that is kind of where you said, like, I got to take a breath and all of a sudden I realized, like, oh, wait, maybe there's stuff here to think about, to work through. So I guess tell us a little bit about what came up for you that kind of came to the surface as you were taking that breath.
I think probably maybe one of the big things that drew me in was meaningful relationships with other women that were, fairly like-minded. I didn't know everyone, so that was definitely kind of part of the scary part. I had one gal there that I knew that kind of gave me that comfort zone, because for me it's a challenge to just kind of strike up a conversation with somebody I don't know very well. But it just felt like once I entered that space that you had just created this safe place for us to come together and share our stories and be heard and be seen by each other, for each other. And then also just the time of worship that you gave us was amazing and really kind of fed my soul and there again just allowed me to take that deep breath and to start thinking about what I've come through, who I am, and where I want to go.
This first cohort group is just always going to be so special to me because, I mean, you guys trusted this vision and this plan that I had that hadn't actually been tested yet. And so it just will always
I
mean so
never
much to
doubted
me
it for a
that you
moment.
guys trusted that. So as a caterer, I have to ask this question. As a caterer, and I've had your delicious, creations from your kitchen, how was the food experience at the retreat? Because I put a lot of effort into that. Not me personally making the food, but like it mattered to me. So what was your impression?
No, you absolutely killed it, Jennifer. You touched so many boxes. You gave us sweet little treats in our little goodie bag, and then you just completely pampered us with every meal. There was wonderful, fresh ingredients, homemade, delicious, healthy food that nourished our bodies and our souls as well. That was hard for me to step back and not want to get involved.
I know.
But
I
it was
know.
truly a pleasure
Yeah,
to
but that
be so
goal.
pampered.
Oh, see, I love that you're saying that because that's the goal of it, is to like bring women in and nourish their body and soul. And they don't have to cook the food. They don't have
Right.
to clean up the food.
Nope.
They don't have to plan the food. It's
Yep.
just like healthy meals,
Mhm.
beautiful meals, fresh ingredients.
Yep.
That is a very high value of mine when I bring these women for intermission
Absolutely.
together.
And we got to incorporate a few little adult beverages here and there, and
Yeah,
that was lovely too.
yeah, we had some wine at night. Oh,
Yep.
that was so good.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about sort of the 4 tenets of the intermission experience, which are identity, purpose, faith, and friendship. So when we do identity work, it's answering this question that women in midlife often have, which is, who am I? The Enneagram is the tool that I love to use when helping women come back to who they are. They're not becoming someone brand new. They're just like literally going back to all of who God made them to be. So were you familiar with the Enneagram before the program? Tell us a little bit about what you learned about your own identity.
No, I had never heard of the Enneagram before. I have done some personality testing in the past, and I think this was kind of something that maybe surprised me through this process was I am not the same person that I used to be maybe even 10 or 20 years ago. And I'm not sure I gave myself the freedom and the space to do that or to understand that. And I think through the Enneagram, it just took me to a deeper place of understanding who I was, why I do some of the things that I do, why I don't do some of the things that I think I should sometimes. Just giving me then some tools to just kind of dig deeper into really how God wired me and created me.
Yeah. So what's your Enneagram number?
I am a 9.
A 9.
Yes.
All right. So you discovered you're an Enneagram 9. How has that helped you?
So it brought out something to me that you and I discussed in our one-on-ones, is that when I get into a moment of maybe stress or conflict or whatever, I regress into anger, and I never realized that. And then I caught myself doing it, and it even can come out as a bit of passive aggressive behavior as well. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, called out, lady. Okay, this is something to know and understand and to be able to work on then as we go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for that Enneagram 9, well, and the 1. If we don't know that the anger's there, we can't deal with it, and it's there doing its thing. So
be prepared for it.
Yeah,
I think that's
and just
the
to
other
go,
thing.
okay, I definitely am feeling angry. It's going to come out for the Enneagram 9. It's going to come out a little sideways, a little passive aggressive, and so how to do that in a more healthy way,
Right.
in a more direct way, in a more way that uses your voice and what matters to you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. As we talk about purpose as the second component, because again, midlife, what is my purpose now? How did crafting your personal statement help you? And actually, what is your personal statement? Do you mind sharing it with us?
Absolutely not. I will have to get it out just so that I don't mess it up.
It's okay.
My purpose is to lighten, uphold, and serve through dependable support to leaders and the overburdened.
I still love it. Every time I hear it, I know I worked with you on it, so I love it so much. So how is that for you?
Well, this is something that I feel like God gave me many years ago. One of the first times I heard the story of when Moses was leading the Israelites into their promised land, they had to fight the people that were still, thought that was their land. There was a scene where Moses was up on the mountain and the Israelites are down below fighting. As long as Moses could hold his arms up, the Israelites would continue to win the battle. I don't know why God made it that way in that moment. But he did. But Moses got tired. He was the leader. He was the front man. He was the one that the Israelites looked to for guidance. That's not me. But he needed help. He got tired. He needed someone to help hold his arms up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really clear and deep vision that that's what God was calling me to, is to support and take burdens off of leaders that are kind of there on the front lines, to do maybe some of the simpler, easier tasks that just helps to lighten their load.
Ah, I love that.
I get a little choked up.
I know it was a little bit difficult for you to believe that you had a purpose statement. We had a couple conversations where you were like, "Well, mine is just you used the word, mine is just to help people, to take burdens from people." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not a just. That's like cute." So as we worked together and you crafted this statement, how did it impact the way you view yourself?
Well, it has been a struggle because, yes, I'm not super highly educated. I'm more of a doer, just get in there and get the work done. But I also probably in my process wanted to not like give myself too much value because that felt like pride.
Mm.
But yet to understand that I have been uniquely and beautifully created, and when you bring this statement together that just speaks to your heart, it just makes you understand how special and unique we each are.
Mm-hmm.
And how then that flows into how the body of Christ works together. Because even though you think about your little pinky toe, if you stub that pinky toe, that hurts a
Yeah.
lot and you feel it over your whole body. And so that just kind of really connected me back to that feeling of being a part of the body of Christ. Even though it might be a small part, it's still a valuable part.
It's very valuable. You are very valuable. Oh my goodness. Well, as we move then into the area of faith. So as you know, intermission is not for only Christian women. Like, it is for women that are seeking in their faith. It is for women that are open to how God might be trying to open their heart or speak to them. Or I don't have an agenda when it comes to that, but because I know the impact that faith has had in my life, it's a subject that's on the table for the women that come through.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that most of the time the conversations end up happening in more of our one-on-one coachings, because everybody in the group is coming
Sure.
from different backgrounds and different hurt, different insight on God. And so how have you seen your faith grow through this experience?
So there probably would have been a time in my life when I would have avoided, maybe making connections like that. I would have felt like I needed to be more connected with people that were on exactly the same page as I was faith-wise. But I found it so enlightening to share with people that came from, so many different backgrounds and in our different places in their journey. But I also found it encouraging to be able to maybe plant a little seed of something that, my past relationship or where my journey and spiritual path has gone. So I found that very growth filled. So yeah, prior to coming to the retreat, and that's still a bit of a journey. I feel like I was at a very stagnant place in my faith and in my personal journey with God, because I was kind of going through, I don't want to say complete crisis of faith, but just a questioning of faith, of where I had come from. I came from a background, and I don't mean to criticize, any of my past leaders or instructors or parents or anything like that, but just what I took from it was a very God in the box and very smaller version of God and our relationship with God, his expectations of me, whether he was pleased with me or not.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I knew I could not earn my salvation and my access to him and to heaven, but I felt like I had to earn his pleasure.
Yeah.
Once we were in relationship together. And so that became a little conflicted as I was growing older and just looking at things through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
Saw my girls kind of struggle with their faith too, and that just made me start to step back and pause. And I kind of, was just stuck in a point of, where am I going from here?
Yeah.
What is truth? And what have I maybe misinterpreted myself or misinterpreted from what someone else has said?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for being that honest, because again, this season of life is often a time where we are somewhat deconstructing the things of our childhood. That can be faith, that can be parenting tactics, that can be so many things, but it's like God calling us another level deeper in this
Absolutely.
season,
Right.
where we get to kind of start questioning, what is mine?
Right.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being so honest with that. And have you seen yourself growing deeper in that way?
I see myself on that path for sure. We came out of many different denominations, and I think God is using all of those to weave together the story of what my spiritual journey is and will be. And there again, I don't regret any of it, but I just want to sift through.
Yeah. And creating a space and a permission for yourself to do that is so huge.
Right.
So if nothing else, I hope that everybody listening to this, everybody that comes through Intermission, realizes that like that's a good and holy thing to do, is to give yourself space and time to sift through it. Like God can handle that.
Oh my gosh. Right? Yeah. I'm not sure I thought it was okay, but it is so okay.
That's so good. Yeah. All right. The fourth tenet of Intermission is friendship. And that is there because women in midlife are lonely. And some are blessed with a core group of friendship that has been there for a long time. But many women that I speak to and work with, when their kids move on, so much of our connection is around like, oh, well, we were friends with those parents because our kids were friends, and we hung out because we needed things to do with our kids. Or maybe as we are getting to empty nest, some of our friends are moving away because now we're not required to be in a certain school district. Or there's just a lot of transition that happens, and it can be very lonely. Some women in midlife are, again, going through a divorce or have become a widow, and then that shifts everything. So what has friendship looked like for you in this transitional season of life, and how have you seen that impacted through this experience?
Well, I think as the only girl with two older brothers, I always had this deep desire to have that deep female connection, a sister, a bestie friend that you just always, went to and called and talked to. And that was something that, I had in different phases of where we lived, because we did move around a bit for my husband's training. And so I had glimpses of it, and it was beautiful, and it was so sweet. And so that was definitely a part of a need, I think, that brought me into the Intermission. And it was just so sweet that I haven't necessarily found that one person that would be like that sister to me, but it was just so sweet to be in that community of other women, to be able to open our hearts with, and and find that connection with, and to realize that I am made for connection. We are all made for connection. God wired us that way, and to just have that sweet space to get to know these lovely ladies was such a privilege.
Yeah. Okay. One of my favorite things that we do is that in the fourth month, so this is after the retreat, we've been meeting together as a cohort over, in online meetings. We've been doing our one-on-one coaching sessions. So in the fourth month, we start talking about becoming co-authors of Act 2. And as a part of that, we work on these 10-year vision boards. And I say, you got to picture your life at least 10 years from now, and what do you want it to look like? Like if you were a designer, if you were the playwright, if you were the author, what would it look like? And so then we create vision boards, and this one I happen to have is yours. All right, it's got your purpose statement here. It's got your quadrants of things that are valuable and important to you. Tell us a little bit about the process for you of doing an Act 2 vision board.
Well, this was so fun for me. I have scrapbooked in the past, but never digitally. So from a technological standpoint, it was a little challenging, but Jennifer helped through that. But anyway, There again, just taking your purpose statement and then understanding what four like pillars for me were a part of how I saw myself down the road. And this is so wonderful because I would not do this on my own. And my husband also is one who is always like, "Where do you see us, hon, in 5 or 10 years?" I'm like, "Honey, I don't know. I got to get through today." But this gives you somewhere to aim for. This gives you a vision to look forward
Mm-hmm.
to. So for me, the very important things to me was faith is like my cornerstone. And so that I wanted to put up there in that right-hand corner with my buddy Moses there and helping hold up his arms. And then being a part of a church is just essential to me. And then I felt like balancing that out was my sweet family. And here's our whole group down here. And then our one little baby granddaughter, Addie, and we've got another one on the way there. And how we just enjoy spending time together around the table. And then probably the other two aspects that kind of balance each other is fitness. Fitness is super important for me, but I also want that to be fun. And then the other balancing factor is going on fun adventures with my sweet husband, my family, and some friends and my horse.
That's awesome. Oh, I love these. So these are so fun for me to see because it kind of pulls everything together. We start the retreat applauding Act One and with gratitude for how life has brought us to where we are. And then we have this pause of intermission, and then we get creative and have fun just dreaming about Act Two.
It makes you prioritize and it makes you realize what's truly important.
So, Staci, what was one of the most impactful things for you about this intermission program and season of life?
I think it was a couple weeks ago in one of our one-on-one sessions, we went through a prayer, and I just felt God speaking so clearly to my heart to leave the past in the past. You know, right? We always have something that plagues us that the devil likes to just keep bringing back over and over and keep us trapped in that feeling of disappointment, failure, you know, whatever it is, and just kind of keep us there and to not allow ourselves compassion and forgiveness. And in that moment, I really felt God speaking to me that it is confessed and it is in the past, and to move on and to look forward and to look up as I go forward instead of looking down and feeling shame.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, like when those things happen, that's why I believe in this mission so much,
Right.
because I do feel that God cares so deeply for the women who have been raising up the next generation and who have been pouring their heart and soul into life and family and career. And God sees us and wants so much for us in this second act. And like you said, so many of us carry this weight with us of something that's already been forgiven, that's in the past, and yet we just carry the weight and carry the weight. And there's so much more for us when we're willing to agree with God to say, let it be, and leave it behind. So thank you for sharing that. Hey there, listeners. Let's stay in touch. I have an email list, and I would love to have you on it. As part of my weekly email, you're going to get to vote on what episodes you want to see coming next. I also have special discounts and sales just for the people on my email list. And of course, you'll never miss an episode because I'll make sure and send you a reminder. So what would you say to a woman who's listening to this podcast who's like, well, that sounds like me. Maybe I didn't know it, but maybe I need an intermission too. How would you encourage another woman?
Well, you may not think you're ready. You may not think you have the time. You may not think you have the money, but you do. And it's well worth it, truly. That there are no words for the depth of how much God wants to show you his love and his compassion and his mercy. And to do this in this venue, in this atmosphere, it's just right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.